The first thing Bowen saw when he pushed the front door open was his mother on her knees. Pepe's back was bent. Her hands shook as she held a small plastic plate. Beside her stood a little boy, Segan, his eyes wide, his lips dry, his stomach growling. They were inside the bathroom. Not near it. Inside it. The toilet seat was down. A bucket sat in the corner. The smell of soap and disinfectant filled the air. Papai looked up slowly, like someone who had been caught doing something wrong, even though she had done nothing at all. Bowen froze. His briefcase slipped from his hand and hit the marble floor with a loud thud. "Why are you eating here?" Bowen asked quietly. Papai did not answer. She looked at the floor. Segan tried to smile when he saw Bowen, but his smile broke halfway. Behind them, a sharp voice cut through the silence. "I told you not to stop eating." Regina stepped forward. She was wearing a silk house dress, neat and smooth, like nothing bad could ever happen around her. Her hair was perfect. Her face was calm. Too calm. Bowen turned slowly to face her. "What is going on here?" he asked. Regina crossed her arms. "They know what they did." Bowen looked back at his mother. "Did what?" Papai swallowed. "I only asked if Segan could eat at the table today." The room went quiet. Bowen felt something hot rise in his chest. "At the table?" he repeated. Regina rolled her eyes. "This is my house now, Bowen. I decide who eats where." Bowen took one step forward. "You forced my mother and a child to eat in the bathroom?" he asked. Regina lifted her chin. "They should be grateful I even allowed them to eat at all." Segan's plate slipped from his hands and fell into the bucket with a soft splash. That was the moment Bowen knew something was very wrong. And that was the moment Regina realized Bowen had come home early. Just 2 months earlier, this house in Abuja had been full of smiles. Bowen Johnson was a well-known CEO. People respected him. Some feared him. Many admired him. He worked long hours and traveled often, but he loved peace at home. After his first wife passed away, Bowen promised himself he would never rush into marriage again. But Regina entered his life softly. She spoke well. She dressed well. She knew how to make people feel seen. She treated Bowen like a king. She called his mother Mama, with a sweet voice. She held Segan's hand and bought him toys. Segan was not Bowen's child. He was Pepe's step-grandson. The boy had lost his parents early and had only Papai left. Bowen did not see Segan as a burden. He saw him as family. When Bowen told Papai he wanted to remarry, she was careful. "Watch well," she warned him gently. "Some smiles hide sharp teeth." Bowen laughed then. "Mama, not everyone is bad." Regina moved into the house after the wedding. The first week was calm. The second week was quiet. By the third week, small rules appeared. No food in the living room. No noise after 8. No guests without my permission. Papai noticed, but she kept quiet. She did not want trouble. Segan noticed too. Regina no longer played with him. She stopped calling him by his name. She called him that boy. When Bowen traveled, things changed. Food became smaller. Voices became sharper. Rooms became closed. One afternoon, Segan sat at the dining table and waited for lunch. Regina walked in, saw him, and stopped. "Who told you to sit there?" she asked. Papai spoke softly. "I did." Regina smiled. "Then both of you should eat where you belong." That was how the bathroom rule began. Papai cried quietly that night. She wanted to tell Bowen, but she was afraid. She did not want to break his new home. So she endured. Until today. Because Bowen was not meant to be home yet. His meeting had ended early. He wanted to surprise Regina. Instead, the house surprised him. Now Bowen stood in the hallway, his heart pounding, his eyes moving between his mother, the child, and the woman he had married. "This ends now," Bowen said slowly. Regina laughed. "You will choose me. You always do." Bowen took out his phone. "Call Johnson," he said. Regina's smile faded. Johnson was Bowen's personal assistant. "What are you doing?" she asked. Bowen looked at Segan, then at his mother, then back at Regina. "I am about to find out who you really are," he said. And at that moment, Regina stepped closer and whispered something that made Bowen's hand freeze mid-air. Bowen slowly lowered his phone. Regina's whisper still rang in his ears. "If you embarrass me," she said softly, close enough for only him to hear, "I will destroy everything you love." Bowen stared at her. Not long ago, this same woman used to look at him with gentle eyes. Now those eyes were cold and bold. "What did you say?" Bowen asked calmly. Regina stepped back and smiled. "Nothing. I just reminded you that this is a private family matter." Bowen took a deep breath. "Mama," he said, turning to Papai, "take Segan to your room." Papai hesitated. "Bowen." "Please," he said gently. Segan picked up the empty plate with shaking hands. Papai held his shoulder as they walked out of the bathroom. Segan looked back once, his eyes full of fear. When they were gone, Bowen closed the door. The house became very quiet. Regina sat on the couch like a queen who had won a battle. "You see," she said. "They have gone. Peace." Bowen did not sit. "How long has this been happening?" he asked. Regina shrugged. "Since you started choosing them over me." Bowen frowned. "Choosing them? You come home and ask about your mother first. You buy things for that boy. You listen to her advice more than mine." "They are my family," Bowen said. Regina laughed. "I am your wife." "Yes," Bowen replied. "And a wife does not punish an old woman and a child." Regina's smile dropped. "Do not talk to me like that," she snapped. "You married me because you wanted order. I bring order." Bowen walked to the window and looked out. Abuja stretched before him. Quiet streets, tall buildings, calm air. Everything outside looked normal. Inside his house, nothing was normal. "I asked you to care for them when I travel," Bowen said. "I trusted you." Regina stood up. "You trusted me, yet you never removed them from this house. How do you expect me to feel like a proper woman of this home?" Bowen turned. "So this is jealousy." "It is respect," Regina said sharply. "A home can have only one woman in charge." Papay's words from months ago echoed in his mind. Some smiles hide sharp teeth. "Pack your things," Bowen said quietly. Regina laughed again. "You are joking." "I am not." "You will send me away because of them?" she asked. "No," Bowen said. "Because of what you did." Regina's face changed. Her voice softened. "Bowen," she said, walking closer, "think well. People are watching us. You are a CEO. A failed marriage will damage your image." Bowen did not answer. Regina lowered her voice further. "And what about the secrets I know?" Bowen stiffened. "What secrets?" he asked. Regina smiled slowly. "About your company. About that deal in Kaduna. About the man you paid to stay silent." Bowen's heart skipped. "You are lying," he said. "Am I?" Regina replied. "Check your drawer." Bowen walked to his study and opened the drawer. His fingers shook as he pulled out a file. The file was open. Documents were missing. He felt a cold wave move through him. "You went through my things," he said. "I am your wife," Regina replied. "Everything here belongs to me too." Bowen returned to the living room, his face hard. "You crossed a line," he said. Regina folded her arms. "I crossed many lines for you. I just stopped pretending." Bowen's phone buzzed. Johnson was calling. He answered. "Sir," Johnson said quickly, "there is a problem. Someone sent anonymous documents to the board." Bowen closed his eyes. "What documents?" he asked. There was a pause. "Financial records, sir," Johnson said. "They look serious." Bowen slowly lowered the phone. Regina was smiling. "You see," she said. "You need me." Bowen looked at her for a long time. Then he said something that wiped the smile off her face. You think I am afraid, Bowen said. But you have forgotten one thing. Regina frowned. What? I built everything you see before you came, Bowen replied. And I can destroy lies faster than you can spread them. At that moment, the door to Pepe's room opened slightly. Segan stood there, holding something in his hand. A small phone. And his mouth opened to speak. Uncle Bowen. Segan's small voice shook. Bowen turned sharply. Segan, he said, forcing his voice to stay calm. Go back inside. But Segan did not move. His hands were trembling as he held up the phone. The screen was cracked at the corner. It was old, not smart-looking, but it was on. I did not mean to listen, Segan said quickly. I was playing a game. Then Auntie Regina started talking. Regina spun around. You were spying? Segan shook his head fast. No, Ma. I was scared. Mama was crying. Bowen walked toward the boy slowly. What did you hear, Segan? Regina stepped forward. Enough. This is adult talk. Bowen raised his hand. Let him speak. Segan swallowed. She was talking to someone. A man. She said. She said you would not suspect her because you trusted her. Regina's face went stiff. Bowen felt his chest tighten. Talking when? At night, Segan said. When you traveled. She locked the door. She said your name many times. Regina laughed suddenly. Children imagine things. Segan looked down. She said you would choose her because you loved your company more than people. The room went quiet. Bowen slowly turned to Regina. Is this true? He asked. Regina lifted her chin. So what if I spoke to someone? Am I a prisoner? Bowen bent down to Segan's level. What else did you hear? Segan hesitated, then spoke fast. She said if you tried to send her away, she would make you lose everything. She said she already sent something. Bowen straightened. Regina clapped slowly. Wow. Very creative. Bowen's phone buzzed again. Another call from Johnson. He answered. Sir, Johnson said, sounding tense, the board has scheduled an emergency meeting. They want explanations. When? Bowen asked. In 1 hour. Bowen closed his eyes. Regina smiled wider. You see how fast things move. Bowen ended the call and looked at her. Who is helping you? Regina tilted her head. You ask too many questions. Bowen's jaw tightened. You entered my home pretending to love my family. I loved you, Regina snapped. But you never made me feel like the first woman. Bowen laughed bitterly. So you punished a child? Regina's eyes flashed. That child does not belong here. Popeye suddenly appeared at the doorway. Enough, she said, her voice weak but firm. Regina turned. Go back to your room. Popeye stepped forward instead. I kept quiet because I wanted peace, Popeye said. But you are not peace. You are trouble. Regina scoffed. Old woman. Bowen cut in sharply. Do not speak to my mother like that. Regina stared at him. Choose now. The word hung in the air. Choose who stays in this house. Bowen looked at Popeye. Then at Segan. Then at Regina. You already know my choice, Bowen said. Regina laughed, but her laugh sounded forced. You are making a mistake. Bowen turned to Popeye. Mama, take Segan and pack some clothes. Pepe's eyes widened. Bowen. Just for tonight, he said gently. Regina's smile vanished. You are sending me away? She asked slowly. No, Bowen replied. I am protecting them. Regina grabbed her phone. Then I will make my next move. She dialed a number and turned her back. Hello, she said. It has started. Release the second file. Bowen felt his heart drop. What second file? He asked sharply. Regina ended the call and faced him. One you do not know about, she said calmly. One that will hurt someone you care about. Papai gasped. Bowen. Segan tugged Bowen's sleeve. Uncle. She took pictures. Bowen froze. Pictures of what? He asked. Segan whispered, of Mama. And of me. In the bathroom. The room spun. Bowen's fists clenched as Regina smiled slowly, confidently, like someone who knew she had gone too far to turn back. And just then, the doorbell rang. Long. Loud. Once. Bowen looked toward the door. Regina spoke softly, almost happily. They are here. The doorbell rang again. Longer this time. Bowen did not move. Papai held Segan close, her hands shaking. Bowen, she whispered, please. Regina walked toward the door like she owned the house. Her steps were slow and confident. Do not open that door, Bowen said. Regina paused and looked back at him. You cannot stop what you cannot control. She opened the door. Two men stood outside. They were neatly dressed, not in uniforms, not smiling. One held a brown envelope. The other held a phone. Mrs. Johnson? The taller man asked. Yes, Regina replied. Come in. Bowen stepped forward. This is my house. The man nodded. We are aware, sir. We only need 5 minutes. For what? Bowen asked. To confirm a few things, the man said calmly. Regina moved aside and let them in. Papai pulled Segan back into the hallway. Bowen's heart beat fast. Who sent you? The shorter man raised his phone slightly. We were contacted by someone with information about domestic abuse. The word hit the room like a slap. Papai gasped. Abuse. Regina sighed dramatically. I did not want it to get to this. Bowen stared at her. What did you do? Regina touched her chest. I tried to endure. But your mother and that child have been mistreating me. Papai's mouth opened. That is a lie. She insults me, Regina continued. She turns my husband against me. And the child, he spies on me. Segan shook his head wildly. I did not. The man with the envelope spoke. We have images. He opened the envelope and pulled out printed photos. Bowen's breath stopped. They were pictures of Papai and Segan in the bathroom, taken from an angle that made the room look dark and cruel. Why would you take pictures like this? Bowen asked, his voice breaking. To show how unsafe this house is for me, Regina replied smoothly. Papai fell into a chair. God. Bowen turned to the men. This is false. She forced them there. The taller man looked uncertain. We will need statements. Good, Bowen said sharply. Because I have mine. He took out his phone and pressed a button. A voice filled the room. Regina's voice. He will choose me. And if he doesn't, I will ruin him. The room went silent. The men looked at Regina. She laughed nervously. That can be edited. Bowen tapped again. Another recording played. Release the second file. The shorter man frowned. What second file? Regina's smile faded for the first time. Bowen stepped closer to her. You played a dangerous game. Regina's eyes darted around the room. I only wanted respect, she said suddenly. I wanted this house to be mine. You wanted power, Bowen replied. The taller man cleared his throat. Sir, we will need to take everyone's details. Regina straightened. Of course. She turned and walked toward the stairs. Bowen noticed something and shouted, Stop! Regina froze. What now? She snapped. What is in your bag? Bowen asked. Regina looked down. The bag on her shoulder was slightly open. The corner of a hard drive showed. The shorter man stepped forward. Madam, may we see that? Regina grabbed the bag and backed away. You have no right. Bowen moved closer. That is the second file, isn't it? Regina's face hardened. Yes, she said. And it is already somewhere safe. Papai began to cry. Bowen, what does she want? Regina looked at Bowen and smiled again. I want you to kneel, she said. In front of everyone. And tell them you were wrong. Bowen felt the room close in around him. The men watched. Papai sobbed softly. Segan clung to Bowen's leg. Bowen stood still. Then he said quietly, "If I kneel, will you stop?" Regina's eyes lit up. Yes. Bowen looked at Segan. Then at his mother. Then slowly, he bent his knees. Regina laughed softly. But as Bowen lowered himself, the front gate alarm suddenly beeped. Johnson's voice came through the intercom. "Sir," he said urgently, "the board is on the way. And the police are behind them." Regina's smile disappeared. "What?" she whispered. Bowen froze halfway to the floor. And in that moment, Regina realized she might have misjudged just how far Bowen was willing to go. Bowen slowly stood back up. He did not finish kneeling. Regina stared at him, her mouth slightly open, her confidence cracking for the first time. "The board," she whispered. "The police." Bowen straightened his jacket calmly. "Yes." The two men who had come with the envelope stepped back a little, suddenly unsure of who they were really dealing with. Papai wiped her tears. Segan held Bowen's hand tightly. Regina laughed nervously. "You planned this?" Bowen shook his head. "No. You planned everything. I only prepared for the truth." The intercom buzzed again. "Sir," Johnson's voice said, "they are at the gate now." Bowen looked at Regina. "You wanted power. You forgot something." "What?" she asked sharply. "This house has cameras," Bowen said quietly. "Even in places you thought were hidden." Regina's eyes widened. "The bathroom," Bowen continued. "The hallway. The kitchen. Every rule you made. Every word you spoke." Regina stepped back. "You are lying." Bowen pressed a button on his phone. The screen lit up. A video paused on Regina's face, clear and sharp, pointing toward the bathroom. Her voice filled the room again. "Eat there. You deserve it." Papai gasped. Segan buried his face in Bowen's leg. The two men exchanged looks. "That changes everything," the taller one said. Regina dropped her bag. The hard drive hit the floor with a dull sound. She rushed to pick it up, but Bowen stepped on it gently. "It is over," Bowen said. Regina's voice rose. "You think exposing me will save you? What about the files already sent?" Bowen's face stayed calm. "Johnson handled that." The intercom buzzed a third time. "Sir," Johnson said, "the board has confirmed. The files were traced. They came from your wife's email. The police are asking for her." Regina screamed, "No." Footsteps sounded outside. Firm. Heavy. Close. Papai held Segan and whispered prayers. Regina looked around wildly, then back at Bowen. "You loved me," she said desperately. "I loved who you pretended to be," Bowen replied. A loud knock hit the door. "Police." Regina backed toward the stairs. "If I go down alone, I will not be quiet." Bowen's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" Regina smiled through tears. "There is one last secret you do not know." Bowen felt a cold chill. "What secret?" he asked. Regina leaned closer and whispered, slow and clear. "Segan is not just a child you adopted." Bowen froze. Papai gasped loudly. "Regina, stop." Regina laughed softly. "Ask your mother who Segan really is." The knock came again. Louder. "Open this door now." Bowen turned slowly to Papai. "Mama," he said, his voice shaking, "what is she talking about?" Papai's face went pale. Segan looked up, confused. And just as Bowen reached for the door handle, Papai opened her mouth to speak. "Thank you for listening. What is your view about this story? Let us know in the comment section. Kindly like, comment and subscribe to our channel.